Dungeons and Dragons is a real serious problem. But as we'll see in the upcoming few moments, the problems with role-playing games have moved far beyond Dungeons and Dragons.
Because in Japan, I've heard that they're really into the role-playing games where you don't just bash people and kill them. You go around and you gotta use your head and stuff. But here it's sort of half and half.
That's the last one. Oh yeah, you missed this part. You missed the I know where the coins are. It's just that I can't go to them.
Any idea at all that Dungeons and Dragons is a passé concern in the years gone by and that no one really plays it anyway is shot down immediately when we go into our local video store or into the toy stores and take a look at what the newest toys are. Because some of the hottest selling items, of course, are the Nintendo games, and I'm sure we've all heard of Nintendo by now. And as we went into our local video store where they rented the games, we asked the sales clerk and he told us that they were sold right out, that they were rented every night and the kids who couldn't buy them were just renting them one night after another every time they could get their $5 to rent the games to play them. So we began to take a closer look at the Nintendo games, and as we walked down the aisles of the video store, we saw the incredibly descriptive titles. I'm looking at here some of the instruction manuals for Final Fantasy, and we'll talk about this in a second, Dungeon Magic, Wizardry, and this was only the beginning of what were in those video counters. Then we went and conducted some interviews with some young men who were video game addicts, so to speak, and who spent all their time at these games, and we learned, as I mentioned off the top of this report, that it's a whole new world out there. These kids are talking in terms we don't understand. They're in front of their video boards, and they totally understand and are entranced in a world that we know nothing about. One of the kids that we interviewed smiled because his mother was off the camera and said, "My mother just can't figure this thing out. She doesn't even know where to turn the keyboard on. Yet this is his whole life, and the generation gap has grown as never before." But to move beyond that and talk about these games, we began, as these children were playing the games and they were describing them to us, we began to look through the instruction manuals. And I have here one for Wizardry, and I don't know if you can see it from here. Maybe we can get another shot of it off camera. You know, the Bible tells us that in the last days that the whole world will worship the dragon. And here we see right on the cover is the dragon. These kids are becoming acclimated to this very kind of thing. And I began to look through the instruction manual, and I see here how to cast magical spells and mage spells and cleric spells. And you go to the pages that it's listed on, in this instance page 41, and they have complete descriptions of how to cast spells and how to contact powerful spirits and how to use these spirits and these powers to overcome, obviously, evil or good, because there's both white and black magic in these books. We picked up another one to see if that was just coincidence, and it's Dungeon Magic here. And we look through again and we see in here Casting Magic Spells, page 22, with a complete description, and it says here, each wizard has mastered a certain type of magic. When you meet a wizard, he will give you 4 basic elements of his mystical studies. So we have a wizard now teaching the children of his magical studies. And then here it says, it is important to remember that the source of all magic is the life force of the user. This is the teaching of the occult. This is exactly what we were introduced into in Star Wars and E.T., that there is some magical power, some life force that runs throughout the universe, and it is this power that we can tap into for either good or evil. Of course, in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker would tap into it for good, and Darth Vader would tap into the same power for evil. So there was no God judging the hearts of mankind. There was no moral code to live up to. We just had this power that we could use at our discretion. And here is this teaching right now in these video games. So it is not just some social misfit who is off playing Dungeons and Dragons in the corner somewhere. Now it's the very Nintendo games. I look at another one here just to show you that this is not just an isolated example. I'm looking now at the instruction guide to one of the Nintendo games, Final Fantasy. And I look in here, page 72, white magic. Page 76, black magic. And once again, it's how you can get in touch with your wizard and learn all the levels of magic. You see, it's not just a simple one little thing. There are 8 different levels of magic, both white and black, that the kids can tap into here. I think we've made the point of the incredible occultism that is contained in all these games. But the important point, and if we can leave you from this report with one bit of understanding, it is that All of these things reinforce each other. We go from the cartoons to the videos to the rock and roll music and now to these video games. And then we go to the educational classroom and we see that these kids are getting a worldview one after another that is building on top of this. We have children who spend, they say the statistics, I've said it before, 7 hours a day watching television. They spend another 2 or 3 hours in front of these video games. By the time they go to bed at night, they have had another gospel preached to them through these cartoons. And hopefully this report is helping to show you that that gospel is a consistent gospel. This just isn't a modge podge of different things that we're picking out the little bits that we oppose and leaving the rest untouched. From morning until night, it is the gospel that you are God. You have the power within you, and there is this life force that we can tap into for good or evil. And this generation is being set up for a deception, the worshiping of the dragon. And you look at the fronts of these video games, and one after another, it's a dragon pictured or a serpent. And the kids are eating it up and being groomed for the day that lies ahead when the Antichrist is revealed to this world.